Picture the opening scene with three individuals losing their stomach contents, the nauseating sounds of their retching reverberating in your ears. As off-putting as it may seem, it's the perfect introduction to an unforgettable tale. Amidst thee, we come across an array of fascinating characters, each more peculiar than the one before. Leading the pack, we have the enigmatic Ms. Belle Pum, a woman whose name echoes her captivating persona. In this peculiar spectacle, we urge you to follow in the footsteps of Ms. Belle Pum. Yes, that's right, run down the road after Miss Belle. Her sister, however, is nothing short of a sugar-spun spectacle, as full-rounded as she is saccharine. Halve's offsprings, Pole, Nuddles and Zoe add to the diversity with their unusual blend of polar bear, golden bear and cotton candy creature, respectively. The plot thickens with the nefarious Horse Morgause, who ceaselessly strives to smear the reputation of our protagonists. Then we have Curtaloo, the formidable matriarch of the Pum family, a woman of such magnitude that she has to be manoeuvred through the door. Not to be overlooked are Henrietta Maglesfield, a pink hen famed for her rotten eggs, and Wick-Wack-Mack, a non-binary being known for their explosive demeanour. As we dive deeper into this bedlam, expect the unexpected. Before we delve into the horror that unfolded on the streets, let's take a brief detour to a place of solace and serenity. Welcome to the quaint little kitchen of the Pum household, a place where culinary magic happens. Today, we're exploring an extraordinary recipe passed down through generations, a recipe that has the power to unite, to heal, and to inspire. Yes, we're talking about the 4.8 elegant church cake. This isn't just any ordinary cake, this is a divine dessert, each bite a prayer to the beloved Lord Jane Fitzcostelia. Now, to make this heavenly treat, you'll need the following ingredients: 4 cups of all-purpose flour, 4 cups of sugar, 8 eggs, 1 cup of milk, 3/4 of a cup of vegetable oil, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, and the zest of 1 whole lemon. The method is simple but requires patience and precision. Start by preheating your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. While the oven is warming, grease and flour your cake pan. In a large mixing bowl, combine the flour, sugar, baking powder, and salt. In another bowl, beat the eggs until they're frothy and full of air. Slowly add the oil, milk, and lemon zest to the eggs, beating continuously. Now the magic happens. Gradually add the dry ingredients to the wet, stirring gently but thoroughly until the batter is smooth and creamy. Pour the batter into your prepared pan and bake for about 60 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted into the centre comes out clean. Once baked, let the cake cool in the pan for 10 minutes, then transfer it to a wire rack to cool completely. But remember, the true essence of the 4.8 elegant church cake lies not in its ingredients or method, but in the prayers offered to Lord Jane Fitzcostelia during the baking process. As the sweet aroma of the cake fills the kitchen, take a moment to close your eyes and send your prayers and gratitude to her. After all, this cake is more than just a dessert. It's a token of faith, a symbol of hope, and a testament to the power of prayer. Recently, a strange series of events unfolded involving our much-beloved characters. Imagine this. Among them are Ms. Belle Pum's sister Halve and her 3 unique children: Pole, the sturdy male polar bear; Nuddles, the youngest female golden bear; and the middle child Zoe, who is as fluffy and round as candy floss, with short yellow hair tied in pigtails. Their mother, Halve, shares a similar candy floss appearance, only rounder. In this peculiar world, we also have Horse Morgause, Ms. Belle Pum's arch-nemesis. To us at Jane Fitzcostelia and friends, the creators of this video, Horse Morgause is nothing but a goody two-shoes who that we are the mischievous ones. Also in this ensemble is Curtaloo, the mother of Ms. Belle Pum and Halve. She is so large, she has to be rolled through the door. Now, let's introduce a new character, Henrietta Maglesfield, a pink hen in Halve's garden, which she shares with her neighbour, Ms. Belle Pum. This hen, known for laying rotten eggs, must always be addressed by its full name. Now, this is where the incident took place. Henrietta Maglesfield had a non-binary twin, preferring they-them pronouns, named Wick-Wack-Mack. This character's exit from the story was a spectacle. One day, due to an accidental fart explosion, Wick-Wack-Mack was propelled all the way to Timbuktu. It was, to say the least, an unusual day in the neighbourhood. This chain of events changed everything for our characters, leaving a lasting impression on their lives. Following the Vomit Epidemic, amidst the chaos, there was a surprising calm. Our characters found themselves gathered around the kitchen table, pondering over an ancient recipe book passed down through generations. The title of the recipe? The Elegant Church Cake. A recipe that was as mysterious as it was intriguing. The Elegant Church Cake, a dessert so grand it was served only on the most special of occasions. The recipe was a work of art, a symphony of flavours that danced on the tongue. It was, in essence, a vanilla sponge cake, but with a twist. The ingredients were simple: flour, sugar, eggs, and vanilla. But the secret ingredient, the one that set it apart, was the rotten eggs of Henrietta Maglesfield. Now, you might think, rotten eggs in a cake? That's absurd. But remember, this was no ordinary hen. Henrietta's eggs, despite being rotten, had a peculiar sweetness to them, a flavour that was both intriguing and delightful. The recipe called for these eggs to be beaten into the cake batter, giving it an unusual yet elegant flavour. But the uniqueness of the Elegant Church Cake did not stop there. The cake was layered with a frosting made from the drool of the dog, a drool so sweet it could be mistaken for honey. This frosting was spread generously between each layer, enveloping the cake in a sweet, sticky embrace. The cake was then adorned with an assortment of other odd ingredients: feathers from Wick-Wack-Mac, petals from the garden, and even a sprinkle of dust from the explosive fart that sent Wick-Wack-Mac to Timbuktu. These ingredients, though peculiar, added a touch of whimsy to the cake, making it a sight to behold. As the cake baked, the aroma filled the kitchen, wafting through the house and even reaching the neighbours. It was a smell that was both comforting and exotic, a smell that promised a taste of the unknown. As our characters sliced into the cake, their faces filled with anticipation. The first bite was a revelation. The flavours were strange yet comforting. The rotten eggs gave the cake a richness, while the dog drool frosting added a touch of sweetness. The other odd ingredients added a layer of complexity, making each bite an adventure. As they savoured the cake, they realised that sometimes, amidst chaos, beauty can be found. And in this case, it was found in the form of the Elegant Church Cake. Amidst the chaos, a peculiar recipe emerged. A recipe in such mayhem, you might wonder? Absolutely, this was no ordinary recipe. It was conceived during the bizarre happenings featuring some very unusual ingredients. Now let's turn to Miss Belle Pum. Do you recall her? The one with a sister like cotton candy, Halve and 3 kids. Pole, the male polar bear, Nuddles, the golden bear cub, and Zoe, the candy floss middle child with short yellow pigtail hair. Her arch nemesis, Horse McGorse, always played holier than thou, and their mother, Curtaloo, so large she has to be rolled through the door. This recipe was created in the joint garden of Miss Belle Pum and Halve, where a pink hen, Henrietta, lived. Henrietta, famous for her rotten eggs, was instrumental in this recipe's birth. The plot thickens with Henrietta's non-binary twin, Wick-Wack-Mac's explosive journey to Timbuktu, and the dog that drooled into a man's mouth. The recipe also involved a man vomiting into a woman's ear, causing her to go deaf in one ear due to the rot and stench. Another man's vomit was so powerful it passed through one woman's ear and came out the other side. The response to the recipe was, to put it mildly, varied. Miss Belle Pum and her family were perplexed yet intrigued. Could this bizarre blend be delightful? Could it bring any form of happiness amidst the bedlam, amidst the vomiting and peculiarities? Could it unite them? The recipe, simple yet quirky, featured the dog's drool, Henrietta Maglesfield's rotten eggs, and a variety of other strange ingredients. The dish was served with a side of disbelief, prepared and tasted with a sense of adventure. The flavours were queer, yet strangely gratifying. It was a flavour they had never encountered, as distinctive as the incidents leading to its creation. Little did they know, this recipe would alter their lives forever. It was more than just food. It symbolised their resilience, their ability to find joy in turmoil. It was a testament to their collective spirit, their capacity to turn even the most peculiar situations into an opportunity for bonding and fellowship. One day in the library, an incident occurred that would forever be engraved in their memories. It was a day like any other. The smell of old books permeated the air, and the quiet was punctuated by the occasional rustle of turning pages. But then, something strange started happening. People on the second floor began to vomit uncontrollably. It was a bizarre and horrifying sight, a wave of sickness washing over the unsuspecting library goers. The vomiting was so severe that the smell reached the ground floor. causing even more people to join in the stomach-churning symphony. It was an epidemic of epic proportions, a flood of vomit and despair. Amidst the chaos, one figure stood out, Ms. Belle Pum. She watched the scene unfold with a mix of horror and disbelief, but instead of helping, she made a decision that would only exacerbate the situation. In a moment of panic, Ms. Belle Pum locked everyone on the second floor, forgetting that the toilets were out of order. The trapped people were left with no option but to endure the nauseating smell and the growing need to relieve themselves. Their pleas for help echoed through the locked doors, their desperation palpable. Yet, Ms. Belle Pum remained unmoved. Eventually, the situation reached a tipping point. The pressure of holding in their bodily functions became too much for the trapped people to bear. In a flood of release, they lost control, adding to the already unbearable conditions. The second floor of the library was now a sea of vomit and urine, a sight so grotesque that it was almost surreal. And then, in an act of belated mercy, Ms. Belle Pum decided to set them free. But by then, the damage was already done. The once dignified library-goers were reduced to a pitiful state, their clothes soaked and their faces a mask of disgust and humiliation. Among the victims, one girl mistook the vomit for face cream, another used it as eye drops, going blind forever. One man even had diarrhea into a woman's mouth, causing her to vomit into his backside. This cycle repeated itself for what seemed like an eternity. This incident was just the beginning of their troubles. In the aftermath of the library incident, a strange phenomenon was observed. The victims of the vomiting epidemic, still reeling from their horrifying ordeal, began to experiment with the unusual recipe that had caused their misery. Emboldened by the unexpected review from Bar Hufflefart Town, they started incorporating vomit into their own cooking, hoping to replicate the delectable fusion that was now the talk of the town. As the victims, now turned amateur chefs, got creative with their ingredients, the town bore witness to an unprecedented culinary revolution. One man, still recovering from the incident, crafted a vomit-based sauce that he drizzled over his steak. A woman, her face still pale from the ordeal, baked a cake using vomit as a substitute for eggs. Another victim, a young boy, even whipped up a vomit smoothie that he claimed tasted surprisingly good. As word spread, more and more people joined in this bizarre trend, their initial disgust replaced with a curious sense of adventure. It was a sight that was both fascinating and revolting, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of a single review. But amidst the culinary experiments and the growing excitement, a sense of dread began to creep in. The victims-turned-chefs were so engrossed in their vomiting creations that they failed to realize the potential dangers of their actions. And as they continued to push the boundaries of culinary norms, they unknowingly set the stage for another disaster. But for now, the town revelled in the Culinary Revolution, blissfully unaware of the storm that was brewing. As the day progressed, a twist in the tale unfolded. Ms. Belle Pum, who had been previously basking in the newfound popularity of her vomit-based recipe, had cordoned off the top floors of the library, leaving all her friends and 96 other people, including the notorious Horse McGorse, who they didn't have time to think about, stranded with a whopping 600 gallons of water to quench their thirst. The problem was, the toilets on their isolated floor were sealed off. The desperate pleas for relief echoed through the halls, the lamentations amplified through the locked bathroom doors. Their misery was palpable, a turmoil resonating from within. Then, in a moment of decision, Ms. Belle Pum granted them respite by releasing them into the lower floors that reeked of vomit. With no other option in sight, the trapped patrons let go of their inhibitions and, in their desperation, relieved themselves right where they were. The ensuing flood from collective relief cascaded down the stairs, a sight that was as revolting as it was relieving. Amidst this chaos, one young girl made the mistake of using the vomit as a face cream, ending up smelling oddly like overused trousers. Another patron had an accident with vomit that cost her the precious gift of sight forever. But perhaps the most disturbing of all incidents was the one involving a man and a woman. The man, suffering from a severe bout of diarrhea, accidentally defecated into a woman's mouth. This gross occurrence triggered a vicious cycle of vomiting and defecating, a horrifying sight that lasted for 20 horrific minutes until the poor woman could no longer bear it and succumbed. Horse McGorse, who was nosing around, ended up being splattered with cow urine. a rather unfortunate turn of events, even for his despicable standard. And then there was the peculiar incident of a lady who vomited into her own vagina, a boy who vomited up his penis, and another who caused his mother an excruciating nasal burn from his vomit. The farcical series of events took an even more ludicrous turn when Miss Belle Pum and her merry band decided to practice their new song, Mamma Pia, in the local church. They accidentally interrupted funeral procession, causing the grieving husband to spew vomit into the coffin. The shocked congregation could only watch helplessly as the coffin tipped over, spilling the contents onto the already distressed crowd. Adding to the absurdity, a man made the gutter his personal vomit reservoir. Poor old silly Miss Belle Pum, always stirring up trouble and vomit in the most unexpected places. After all the upheaval and disorder, their town was forever altered. The peculiar scent of vomit turned into an unwelcome constant, serving as an eccentric token of the strange recipe that had gripped the town. The review had sparked interest from afar, resulting in an unanticipated popularity for this odd mixture. The townsfolk had no choice but to adapt, and adapt they did, each in their unique manners. Miss Belle Pum, steadfast in her resolve, single-handedly created the eau de vomit fragrance to counterbalance the ever-present odour. Her sister Hauve, always the pragmatic one, commenced workshops titled Living with the Smell, while her children sought comfort in their candy floss fantasies, building an impervious fortress. And we certainly can't overlook Henrietta Maglesfield, who, despite producing rotten eggs, was anointed the unofficial town symbol. In the aftermath of the upheaval and disorder, they discovered a way to assimilate and move forward. But the ultimate advice to handle any change in life is to run down the road after Miss Belle Pum. She is the epitome of resilience and adaptation, turning a nauseating predicament into a new business venture. So when life throws a curveball, remember to follow the path of resilience and creativity, just like Miss Belle Pum.